up until that point, I still was unable to get back the Bitcoin that I sold because the trader part of me would not allow me to chase so aggressively. And fortunately, I continued my journey in learning what this is. I'm still learning. I think we all are still learning. I think this is a foreign species to us, and we'll be learning about what this is, what it means for us, and the impact it's going to have on our lives into the future. I think forever. And but thank goodness that the so-called bear market came when it did, because the bear market of 2022, based on the USD exchange rate, right? It's not
Yes.
never a bear market in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's only the opinion of the dollar that's the bear market. But this allowed me, over the course of a 6, 7, 8, 9 month period, almost 10 month period, to ultimately reach that goal. And it was a milestone that I thought that I missed forever. But thank goodness for the bear market of 2020. So to answer very shortly, my traders and I know that this is not something you trade. You trade everything else for this. You work for Bitcoin. Trading is our work. We work for Bitcoin. And I believe I'm as hardcore as believing that little to no diversification. I'm sorry if that upsets people, but diversify into what? Like what? What do you diversify in? Again, I played the game of diversification. I'm going to sprinkle my assets across all of these leaky boats, but I finally have a boat that doesn't leak. So diversify into what? There's nothing to diversify into. So I trade other things, but I trade it to live and to accumulate Bitcoin. And it has given me a new lease on life. It has given me a new lease on life. It's given me new hope. It's given me new passion. It's given me a new way of affecting other people's lives positively. And it's truly a blessing.
You said so much there that is just gold, or should I say Bitcoin? Yeah. I mean, that metaphor of the sinking ships versus the one ship that's not sinking is just such a good one. It's one I've used before. It's one that Saylor, I think, used years ago when he was describing it with open versus closed systems.
That's right.
You know,
That's absolutely right.
you have all these light bulbs that don't turn on, and this one that does, and that one is worth an infinite number of ones that don't do it. And so I think, frankly, Oliver, the most impressive thing that I've learned about you so far, but both in talking now and also online, I think the most impressive thing is that despite your decades of trading, being in that trader's mindset, and having this view of acquiring more and more dollars, or having this view of everything as a trade, to this quickly and this early in Bitcoin's adoption, understand that this is something that is different in that sense. Frankly, I think that's the most impressive thing. I know that you've been very successful in your career. I know that you have accumulated a lot of wealth for yourself.
And I will tell you this, that that's not an easy feat. It's not an easy feat for someone in my space, in my career, that has actually been rewarded by the opposite activity. It's not very easy for someone who's been successful in the traditional fiat-based world to really get this. And so I do recognize that. And I come up across the resistance because I know quite a number of people in the industry over the last few decades, and very few have gotten the bug or seen the value proposition of this brand new thing. It's only a matter of time. But I will say this, that this year, 2023, is probably the biggest year in my very short history of talking to people about Bitcoin. This is the biggest year of people asking me about Bitcoin. And that is a sign of the future. Every 3 to 4 years, the number of people who in the world, especially in the traditional financial community, I believe that the number of people in that community who understands at least a portion of the value proposition of Bitcoin. I think that number grows. I think the number, obviously, of people, regular people outside of that space, that number grows. And that's ultimately what puts the cycle floors into Bitcoin. And let me just say something about that. My specialty throughout the majority, not entirely, but the majority of my professional trading career has been from a technical perspective. And one of the things that my following have a hard time understanding is that, Oliver, you've always been a trader, number one, and you've always looked at things technically. Why won't you do that with Bitcoin? And I just refuse to, in a very big way, because I don't want to send the message that this is something that should be timed, that this is something that should be traded. Timing for what? It just should be accumulated for the rest of your living days. You know, freedom is not something you sell, and I believe that Bitcoin is freedom. Freedom is not something you trade. You don't go from being a slave to free and then saying, I'm going to sell my freedom to go back to slavery. We don't do that. But if I were to approach Bitcoin from a technical point of view and try to explain it to someone from a technical point of view, I would suggest that they stop looking at Bitcoin's price from the high to the low. So stop looking at Bitcoin from 69,000 to 15,000. Stop looking at Bitcoin from 20,000 to 3,200. Stop looking at Bitcoin from 1,000 to $50. Stop looking at it from the highs to the lows and look at it from the lows to the lows. So when Bitcoin was 6 cents, low, then it went to $3, a low, then it dropped to $12, a low, then it dropped to $30, the low. Every low is higher, then it dropped to 100, then it dropped to 1,000, then it dropped to 3,200, then it dropped to 15,000. Where's the next low going to be? 60, 80? So if you focus from a technical point of view on Bitcoin's lows and you forget about the drops from the highs to the lows and just track the lows, this will keep you peaceful, or more peaceful, I should say, and it'll keep you more sound.
I'm glad that you're taking the time to learn about Bitcoin, learn about Bitcoin's potential future value, both in terms of political currency units and on society as a whole. And I'm really glad that you're taking the effort to study and educate yourself about Bitcoin. However, I must make this message incredibly clear. If you are learning about Bitcoin, you must begin also learning about self-custody and taking possession of your own keys. This is really, really important. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want talking about how Bitcoin is going to skyrocket in fiat price and how number is going to go up. You can talk about that all you want. You can daydream about this kind of vertical spike action for Bitcoin. You can daydream about this all you want. But my encouragement to you is that this is not a meme. This is not something to be taken lightly. We can think that this is a good thing, and it is a good thing ultimately for Bitcoin's long-term adoption, but this is real. Okay, this really happens in countries. You know, it may not happen in your country for some time. It may happen in a stair-step fashion, but this is not a meme. This is not a joke. And so, therefore, you need to take self-custody really, really seriously, okay? I work full-time in self-custody solutions for people. I help people set up their multi-sig vaults. I help people set up their estate plans. I help people with a collaborative custody partnership and collaborative custody models, okay? This is a chart of the amount of interest we have at the Bitcoin Advisor, the company I work at, okay? This is not me personally. This is the whole company. We've been in business 7 years. Not a single client of ours has ever lost a single sat, okay? And we have a good number of clients, and this is our demand. My point in showing you this chart, my point in showing you this message right now is that it is increasingly urgent, increasingly important that you begin taking self-custody very seriously. I'm telling you, I'm on the inside of this all day, every day, 6 days a week, and demand for self-custody is skyrocketing, okay? The kinds of clients we have, the number of clients we have, the conviction in the clients we have, it is only going up, okay? And people are booking meetings with me weeks, okay, in advance. In some cases, over a month in advance. And we are in bear market, okay? That chart, this chart right here is from October 2023. Okay, bear, like incredible low interest globally in Bitcoin, and our demand is still skyrocketing, it's still spiking. And my encouragement is that if we have a bull run, if we have parabolic spikes such as this, where Bitcoin goes rapidly upwards in terms of price, if we have these periods of time, okay, transaction fees are going to spike. Okay, exchanges are going to halt withdrawals. Okay, people are going to panic. They're going to smash by any price. Okay, it's going to be increasingly difficult to have any time with people to help you in your self-custody setups. So first and foremost, whatever you do, whether you work with me at the Bitcoin Advisor, whether you go somewhere else, whether you figure it out on your own, whatever the case, please start figuring out self-custody, hot wallets, cold wallets, hot wallets, cold wallets, single sig, multi-sig, whatever you do, just start figuring it out now, because I'm increasingly alarmed by the number of Bitcoiners that do not have self-custody. So please, if you have any Bitcoin self-custody, but especially if you have a large amount of Bitcoin in self-custody, please start taking this stuff seriously, because it's only going to be increasingly important in the future. And so, if you like to work with me, if you like to hear my opinions, perspectives, and ideas on this topic, you can find me at the Bitcoin Advisor. This is precisely why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor, because I believe this is such an important topic here, okay? You can find me there. You can have expert guidance on how to self-custody Bitcoin, to buy, secure, and store it properly for the long term. We can have tailored strategies for you, what your long-term vision is, both for yourself, your own individual future, your retirement, and for your future generations as well. Again, multi-sig vaults, estate plans, all of these things for you, okay? You can just book a free meeting with me here, and the link down below in the description. Again, the first consultation is completely free, where we can talk about your priorities and see if there's a value add both for you and for the Bitcoin Advisor as well. And again, our goal is to help you have generational wealth for you and your loved ones and your children without losing sleep, okay? And that's why not only do you get a free initial consultation, but you have dozens and dozens of pages of education about multi-sig, self-custody, how to store your Bitcoin properly, things to avoid, things to pursue, okay? Again, dozens and dozens of pages of free education for you to be learning about this increasingly important, increasingly urgent topic, okay? And then you can learn further about the Bitcoin Advisor, and why we provide much more value for half the cost of our competitors. You can learn about all this and more in that link in the description, where you can book a free consultation with me at the Bitcoin Advisor. So again, whatever you do, whether you work with me at the Bitcoin Advisor or you try to figure out on your own, please just start taking action now. Because in a couple of years, higher and higher net worth people are going to be entering the space and demanding self-custody, okay? More and more companies, more and more charities, more and more pension funds, more and more churches, all these things, all of these groups of people, all these entities are going to be coming into Bitcoin very quickly, and they'll be willing to pay the transaction fees. They'll be willing to pay whatever fiat price and get for their sats. They'll be willing to do the self-custody as fast as possible. And so my encouragement to you, again, I'm glad you're enjoying these videos. I really appreciate you subscribing and commenting and being a part of these videos and increasing your Bitcoin education. But please, please, please do not stop at the end of this video. Immediately after you watch the end of this video, please start taking your self-custody seriously, whether that's with me at the Bitcoin Advisor, again, link in the description, or it's on your own. Whatever the case, please just do it. Thank you.
I don't want people to walk away from our talk thinking that this is something you time. That what we're dealing with is we're judging something very special through the eyes of something that's not special. And when you're timing this, you're respecting the thing that's not as special more than the thing that's special. You understand? So, in my opinion, whenever you have the unspecial in excess of your needs, it doesn't matter. Just get the special thing. You understand? Like,
Yeah.
there's no timing of what's the most special thing. You know, there's no timing. And when if I can get more people to stop looking at the US dollar's opinion of what Bitcoin is and just look at what Bitcoin is, the US dollar valuation or the US dollar's opinion is not going to matter. Bitcoin is not volatile. The US dollar's opinion of Bitcoin is volatile. The Bitcoin has not changed. Bitcoin is the most constant thing we have in the universe. Bitcoin is consistent. It doesn't break its promises. It's not wishy-washy. It doesn't wake up one morning different than it did the last morning. Bitcoin is not the volatile thing. Everything else measured against Bitcoin is volatile. Everything else is broken. Everything else is wishy-washy. And when you realize this, you stop looking at the opinions of the broken items. You stop looking at what the broken items are suggesting is the value of the most valuable thing. Now, I know it takes time and maybe, hundreds of hours of study to maybe get yourself to that point. And that's what I think is somewhat, is what keeps the adoption. Adoption is amazing, but what keeps the adoption not even being more amazing is that it does require that you understand some basic things about money and value and time and energy. And we have lost these values. This is why people today are putting their family's value into monkeys and frogs and dogs because we've lost this sense of value. We've lost the sense of what's real, what you should spend your time, which is the stuff that life is made of. You spend your time and your effort and your energy on a freaking picture, a JPEG, a frog, a dog, a cat. Everyone has, a lot of people have, this system has caused us to not want to invest time, and we've lost sense of what is real, what is of value. And Bitcoin brings those principles and values back to us. It teaches us patience. It lowers our time preference. It stops us from wasting valuable resources. It causes us to honor more. And I, for one, say I welcome those things because no one can tell me they can look throughout the world and see that things are really, really swimmingly well right now, because they aren't. And I believe that it's at the core of this is the loss of these values which Bitcoin brings back to us. And I'm sorry for ranting, but guys, I get so passionate.
I think you said great things. There's so much, we can go 100 different ways. I think a fascinating irony here is that you've spent your career having everything as a trade, and now as the dollar continues to have more and more and more weakness as we continue to distort it from reality, you were having a rant about JPEGs, NFTs, and rampant speculation there. The funny thing is that as the money we have is deteriorating, everyone is incentivized to become a trader.
Absolutely.
And yet, you, one of, arguably the best traders out there, or definitely the top 1% of traders out there at the very least,
100%.
you are doing the exact opposite,
Yeah,
where now you're not trading the better money. That as the money gets worse, everyone else wants to trade more, and now you're not trading the money that's better because the money that's better is just better.
Yeah, it's kind of strange to me in a way, because I believe that me being a trader has helped me, which I believe I started off our conversation talking about.
Yeah.
I believe that it's helped me to see this faster than perhaps I wouldn't have. But at the same time, for some, it actually prevents them from seeing it faster. So it's a little weird. It's a little weird to me in that respect. But you're absolutely right, Luke, in that you know that something is wrong with the money when there is an ultimate disrespect for the money.